All right, today we are going to be taking out this crappy black OEM shift bushing out of this STI and putting in one of our OTL solid shift bushings. Let's get into the install. Ready? Okay. Okay, to get this process started, the first thing we're going to do is remove the factory pitch stop mount. This car is a front mount intercooler, so it's really easy. If you have a stock top mount on your STI, you're going to have to pull that off to get to this 14 mil bolt. We're going to take that loose and just kind of set it off to the side. That way, when we pitch the transmission down, the engine doesn't bind up or anything, or cause some, interruptions when we try to tilt the transmission down, because we are going to have to create some space to get to the actual shift bushing. So all you need is a 14 millimeter ratchet and a wrench to get that loose. So I'm going to take that off real quick. So we're just going to get down here to this pitch stop mount, get that loose. I'm going to need an extension actually. Okay, it's loose now. Try not to drop this nut. Man, there we go. Okay, just set that there. And that. Okay, so we got that out. And then what I normally do is I just kind of pull this pitch stop mount up and kind of set it over to the side. So now that's out of its socket. And that's basically all we need to do from the top. All the rest is going to be down underneath the car. So let's raise the car up. This job is kind of a pain in the butt to do on the ground, but thankfully we have a lift, and I know that it's not really realistic for people to watch us do it and then compare it to doing it on the floor, but this also leaves us the opportunity to give you the best visuals for instruction and demonstration. So let's get our pull jack over here. And I normally set it right here on the iron plate that's on the transmission. It's a nice sturdy location for it. And we're just going to get that snug. Then we're going to remove this transmission cross brace, and we're going to unbolt the downpipe right here and right here. That way the catback can stay where it's at, but the downpipe can pivot down with the engine. This car also utilizes our OTL catback adapter that we have on our website. Super easy install on that, and it'll keep your catback from leaking. So if you're interested in one of them, put a link down below. Separate that a little bit. There we go. Get that adapter out. This is our catback adapter, so real quick plug on this. All it does, get out to the light. All it does is take the donut gasket and convert it over to a 2-bolt flange. A lot of the times, some aftermarket downpipes will have a 2-bolt flange and a donut, or a 2-bolt to 2-bolt, or just various different configurations. But this makes it really easy to ensure that your catback isn't going to have a leak, because if it doesn't have a flex joint on the catback, it definitely needs to have a donut gasket. You have to have one of those two things. So, once again, we do have the transmission propped up here, so that means this trans brace here is safe to remove. So we're going to take these two nuts out right here, and then there's 2 17s towards the front, and then 4 14s towards the rear. Oh. Okay. And I also just noticed, I forgot, there's 2 12 mil bolts right here that hold up this heat shield, so we need to get those off. what we can do now is we can actually tilt this trans down a little bit. There we go. Now we got it out. Okay. Just take that out of the way. All right, now I'm going to get the rest of these off. Ooh. Now, and then we'll remove the Rio 2 sensor here. Feed that through this heat shield. We'll get that out of the way. Now, all of our work is just right here. So the first thing we're gonna do, there's a little itty bitty clip right here that holds on the reverse lockout. We're just gonna take that, get that off. So we got that clip off. Now there is a little metal washer on it, so don't lose that. We'll take this loose, get that washer, just set it wherever you put the clip. Now we need a 14 ratcheting wrench to get this loose. I'm just gonna crack it loose with this longer one. Then I have my little ratcheting guy right here. So there is a slot in the metal bracket here for this bushing, so you don't have to remove the bolt all the way out. It's virtually impossible because the trans tunnel's in the way. So all you got to do is just get it out far enough to where it's not actually splined in to the threads. It should be. We're almost there. Almost. There we go. Okay. And then you can just pull this straight down. Just like that. The only reason we need to get this off and out of the way is to gain access to this bolt that's right here. So you're going to need a 12 mil socket and a 14 mil wrench. The bolt that holds the actual bushing in, it doesn't have a hex on top, it just has a flat piece with two flat sides. So you're just going to take your 14 and kind of slide it on. It fits a 14 mil, and then you'll just zip the bolt nut out the bottom. So we'll get this on here. Oh, see that catch, dude? Now, get a pull down a ways on the transmission. Really get it droop down. And if it's not drooping down far enough for you, like this one really isn't, it is safe to kind of yank on it a little bit, depending on what motor mounts you have. And I'm actually gonna use the pull jack here to prop the engine up just a little bit so that it pushes the back side of the engine down, or the transmission down. Okay. Now we should have plenty of room to work over here. Do note you do need to get this bushing loose before you actually prop the engine up and the trans down, because it'll put a lot of pressure on this shift rod here and you could break something. So now that we got that done, I'm gonna pull this bolt out the top. So that's what I was talking about earlier. You can see it just has those two flat sides. So it just fits a 14 mil, and that sits on the top. So set that there. And then we can pull this shifter out of the way, make even more room for us. So the next part is definitely the hardest part. It's actually getting the bolt that goes horizontal out. It's two 12 mils. Getting the bolt out can kind of be a pain. What I usually do is get a pry bar and stick it up on the driver's side of the tunnel and pry over a little bit while I can slide that bolt out. It's really, really tight, but it's doable. Can you see with my big old head in the way? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, like I was saying, you can see this bolt running into the trans tunnel. So get a big old pry bar. And if you have solid motor mounts, this is going to be a really, really hard task. You might have to prop the engine up as well. But this car thankfully has stock mounts. So we're just going to... Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Yep, no problem.
He's the best. Okay. Got this bolt out. Now, we have this interlock here. So it just fell out on me, but that's okay. I know how these things go. You want to be sure that you make a mental note of the way that this goes in, because it's very easy to get it flipped around and then the shifter won't line up and you'll just fight it the whole time. So I'm just gonna take a hold of this thing. Whoop. Now we'll give a quick demonstration on why you would upgrade to this shift bushing here. So the factory one is here on the left. If I take this bolt out, I just left it in there to make sure I had the orientation right. So if you look in here, these little bushings from the factory, it's not actually all rubber through the inside. It's just a little cap. So what happens is these little plastic caps here, they will start to get worn down, and then you'll have a really sloppy shifter. You'll put it in gear and it'll still move side to side. That's why you're switching over to these. Yeah, it's just a crappy plastic bushing from the factory, whereas ours has this nice brass pressed in insert. So it's going to be as tight as it possibly can be without being too tight, if that makes sense. It's going to give you more of that bolt action rifle kind of feel for your shifter. And yeah, it's an awesome upgrade. So let's get it in. Like I said before, make sure that you have the orientation of this correct. One of these is longer than the other, so you just want to make sure that you have the shorter end facing towards the rear of the car, being vertical, and then you want the see how it's offset to the right just a little bit. You want that. You don't want it like this. So get this up in here. And then I'm going to need a hand once again. Try that there. I was pushing on it pretty friggin' hard earlier. So, you good? Okay. There we go. Okay, you're good. Cool. All right. Got that fastener in. Thank you very much, Dustin. So if you look, we'll come out here in the sun, or in the light. So if you look, the factory fastener, first things first, we do include fasteners in our kit if you do happen to lose one. Ours come with new hardware. So, but you can notice the OEM and ours are actually lock nuts. It's kind of tough to see in the camera, but the hole is a little oblong. When you put this on, you're going to want to get it snug and then back it off just a quarter turn, or else the little ears on the shift interlock will actually pinch the shift bushing, and then it'll be just really hard to get into gear. So just get it to where it's snug and then back it off just a quarter turn. Okay, we got that. Gonna hang down there. Okay, so now I have it tightened. You can notice it's like I can't even pull down to move this thing. You don't want to do that. You want to back it off just a little bit. So maybe not even a quarter turn like I said before, maybe just a little bit. So we're just gonna, just like that, just a hair. See, now you can actually move it around. And that nut, like I said, it's a lock nut, so it's not gonna back off on you. But yeah, just make it so, like right now, this kind of holds place when I move it around, but it's still, I can move it with one finger, you know? That's kind of what you want. Okay, now we can take the first shifter here, get that pulled down, put into place, and then we'll get our factory fastener. Gonna take our fastener that had the flat side, slip it into the top. This on here. We have the street version. And apparently the street version does not hold up very well. Okay. Oh. You're just going to slip your 14 mil onto the top until you feel it spline with those flat pieces. Oh man. There we go. And this one, that one you can kind of crank down because it doesn't move as much as the other one. So, okay, we got those done. Now we can take our pole jack off of the transmission or the engine, and then we're going to put it onto the transmission. Okay, now I'm going to take the pivot bushing, put it back in. Another fantastic mod to do while you're doing all this stuff is the Cobb shifter bushings also. It replaces this bushing here that's in this pivot bushing, and then it also replaces the rear. This car actually already has them on there, so we're not going to install those, but if you're already digging all the way down to do this job, it's definitely worth spending the, I think they're like $80 for the kit or something like that. Definitely worth getting those put on while you're at it. Okay, and what I like to do before I bolt this all the way down, there's this plate that holds the reverse lockout cable. Let that hang a little loose, and then grab your finger and just pull this reverse lockout towards the rear of the car a little bit. And that'll help line it up, and then you can put that on. Now that's on, we'll bolt everything back up, and then we'll put that washer and clip back in. So, put this on here. When you're tightening this bolt down, this little plate that holds the reverse lockout cable, it does have an ear to locate it on this bracket here, so make sure that you have that all the way flush when you're tightening this bolt down. Okay. All right, that's done. Now we'll throw our lockout cable washer and pin in. There's the washer. And then I usually get a pair of pliers for this pin just because it's kind of tricky to get in by your bare hands. Rigger old needle nose, put it on the rounded end there. Kind of hold it like that, and then this pin will just go through the eyelet that's in the reverse lockout mechanism. There it goes. Okay, that's in. And that's basically it. Now we just got to button the rest of the car up and go test drive it. All right, let's do the trans cross member. Now we can put our OTL catback adapter back in. that's left now is to bolt that pitch stop mount back in, and we're done. That's the whole install. All right, so we'll come around to the inside of the car here. So like we said before, this thing now has the solid OTL shift bushing, and then it also has the cob pivot bushings. So right now it's in neutral. There we go. Now it's in neutral. See, it's got good side-to-side movement. Watch when I put it up into gear. Look at how little movement there is. I mean, you're always going to have a little bit, you know. Things have to be workable and they have to have some tolerance for movement to get long mileage. But this is extremely solid. Feels good to row through the gears. It's very reassuring when you know you're in the right gear. Yeah, it's just a really, really good product. Somewhat simple to install. If you have any questions, call us, email us. Like I said in the beginning, it's kind of a tricky part to put in when you're sitting on the garage floor. So maybe if you have a buddy with a lift or want to take it somewhere with a lift to have it installed, it might be worth your time, but it's totally possible to do it in the garage. Just might be a little tricky. All right, that's going to complete the install. Hopefully we were thorough enough, and if you have any questions, you can comment down below or send us an email. We're happy to help. Hopefully everything goes good for you. And drop a like, drop a follow, do all that stuff. But most importantly, go subscribe to the newsletter on our website. You can get some points for our reward systems, and go purchase one of these shift bushings. It'll get you some points as well. So you can redeem all those for really cool things like free shipping, product discount codes, all sorts of stuff. So if you have any questions, like I said, email us. If not, see you guys on the next one.